Hansol stood on the observation deck of the mining outpost, watching the twin suns set over the rocky landscape of Kepler 442c. The planet looked peaceful from here. Red dust swirled in gentle winds between the tall stone formations. In the distance, the mining equipment worked quietly, pulling precious metals from deep underground. For 15 years, this outpost had been home to 300 humans. They came here to mine rare minerals that Earth needed for advanced technology. At least, that was what anyone watching from space would think. The truth was much more complicated. So-Young walked up behind Hansol, carrying a datapad in her hands. She was the chief engineer, a woman who knew every pipe, wire, and bolt in the entire facility. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her work clothes were covered in grease stains. "The deep sensors are picking up something strange," she said, handing him the datapad. "Long range shows multiple objects moving toward our system. They're too big to be asteroids." Hansol took the pad and studied the readings. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes grew serious. He had fought in 3 wars before coming to this remote planet. He knew what these readings meant. "How many?" he asked quietly. 47 distinct signatures, all of them large, very large. Hansol nodded slowly. After all these years of waiting and preparing, it was finally happening. He touched his communication device. "Tae-min, report to the observation deck immediately." Within minutes, Tae-min arrived. He was the security chief, a man built like a mountain with scars on his hands from old battles. He had been a special forces soldier before joining the mining operation. Like many others here, his background was not what it seemed. "Sir," Tae-min said, standing at attention, "we have visitors coming. 47 ships, unknown origin, estimated arrival in 6 hours." Tae-min's expression did not change, but his shoulders tensed slightly. "Should I begin the preparations?" "Yes. Alert status 3, full defensive protocols, but make it look normal on the surface." Tae-min saluted and left quickly. Soon, subtle changes began happening throughout the outpost. Workers moved with more purpose. Equipment was checked and rechecked, but to any observer it would look like a normal shift change in a mining facility. Yoonji was in the medical bay when her communication device buzzed. She was a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. As the medical officer, she had treated everything from mining accidents to the occasional wildlife attack. But her real training was in battlefield medicine. "Yoonji here," she answered. "Medical bay to standby status. We may have wounded coming in," Hansol's voice said over the comm. "Understood. How many should I prepare for?" "All of them." Yoonji understood immediately. She began pulling out supplies that had been hidden away for years. Trauma kits, surgical equipment, and medicines that no simple mining outpost should have. Her assistants knew what to do without being told. Du-Yun was deep underground when the alert came through. He was the mining foreman, a man who had spent 8 years learning every tunnel, cave, and passage in the mountain. The other miners respected him because he never asked them to go anywhere he would not go himself. "All teams, return to surface," his comm device crackled. "Shift ending early today." The miners began packing up their equipment. They moved quickly but calmly. These men and women had drilled this procedure many times. As they headed for the elevators, Du-Hyun stayed behind to check the special preparations they had made over the years. Hidden behind false walls were weapons and ammunition. Secret passages connected the mines to defensive positions throughout the mountain. Explosive charges were placed at key structural points, ready to bring down entire sections if needed. Everything was exactly as it should be. Back on the surface, Han Sol gathered his senior staff in the main conference room. The room looked ordinary, with simple furniture and mining charts on the walls. But behind those charts were tactical displays and communication equipment that could coordinate a military defense. "Ladies and gentlemen," Han Sol began, "after 15 years of preparation, we finally have a chance to see if our work was worth it." So Young activated the hidden displays. The walls came alive with tactical information, sensor data, weapon, status, personnel positions, and defensive preparations all appeared in bright colors. "The approaching fleet is definitely not human," she reported. "Their ships use technology we don't recognize, but they're following standard attack patterns from the old war files." Taemin pointed to the display showing the outpost. "All defensive positions are manned and ready. The perimeter sensors are active. Our people know their jobs." "What about the miners?" Yunji asked. "Every person on this outpost volunteered for this mission," Han Sol replied. "They all knew what they were signing up for. There are no real civilians here." It was true. When Earth's government decided to build this outpost, they had recruited carefully. Some were former soldiers like Han Sol and Tai Min. Others were engineers, doctors, and technicians who wanted to serve their planet in a different way. All of them had trained for this day. The plan was simple, but brilliant. For 15 years, they had pretended to be a simple mining operation. They had actually mined real metals and sent them back to Earth. But the whole time, they were building something else. The most advanced defensive position that humanity had ever created. Hidden weapon systems were built into the mountain itself. Underground factories had produced ammunition and spare parts. The mining tunnels were actually a maze of defensive positions and supply routes. Even the living quarters were designed to withstand orbital bombardment. "The beauty of it," So Young had often said, "is that we're not hiding anything. We really are miners. We just happen to be very well-armed miners." As the hours passed, the alien fleet grew larger on the sensors. The ships were massive, each one carrying thousands of soldiers and enough firepower to destroy a city. By all appearances, the small human outpost was doomed. Jin Woo sat in the communications center, listening to radio signals from the approaching fleet. He was young but skilled, able to understand alien languages that few humans had ever heard. What he was hearing made him smile. "Commander," he called over the comm, "you need to hear this." Han Sol arrived quickly. "What do you have?" They're talking to each other like this is a routine mission. They expect to be done in a few hours. One of them is complaining that they'll miss dinner. Han Sol allowed himself a small smile. They have no idea what they're flying into. "Sir, should I try to contact them? Offer surrender?" "Oh yes, we should definitely give them a chance to surrender. It's only polite." As the alien fleet entered the outer system, the small human outpost continued its daily routine. Workers moved equipment around. Lights came on and off in living quarters. Radio signals carried normal mining reports. Everything looked exactly like a helpless civilian facility. The trap was set. 15 years of planning and preparation were about to be tested. 300 humans were ready to show the galaxy that humanity did not build simple mining outposts. They built fortresses that looked like mining outposts. The alien fleet approached. Confident in their overwhelming advantage, they had destroyed dozens of human colonies before. This one would be no different. They were wrong. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 47 ships of various sizes spread out in perfect formation. The largest vessels were over 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor. The smallest were still bigger than anything the human outpost appeared to have. Fleet Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the simple mining facility on his screens. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms, wearing the dark uniform of the hegemony fleet. Behind him, his officers worked quietly at their stations. "Such a small target," he said to his second-in-command. "Hardly worth the fuel we burned getting here." "The Hegemony Council believes this system has strategic value," the officer replied. "The humans have been mining here for many years. They must have found something important." Veltar nodded. The hegemony had been expanding across the galaxy for centuries. They conquered primitive species and took their resources. Humans were just another weak race that needed to be controlled. The hegemony had already destroyed 23 human colonies without losing a single ship. "Open a communication channel to the surface," Veltar ordered. On the outpost, Jin Woo was ready. He had been monitoring alien communications since they arrived in the system. He knew their language and their protocols. When the signal came through, he immediately routed it to Han Solo's command center. The main screen flickered to life, showing Veltar's imposing figure. The alien commander spoke in heavily accented human language. "Human settlement. You are now under the authority of the hegemony. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be relocated. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your facility." Han Solo sat calmly in his command chair, wearing simple mining clothes. Behind him, the command center looked like an ordinary office. The hidden military displays were turned off. Everything appeared normal and harmless. "This is Commander Han Solo of Kepler Mining Station 7, he replied in a steady voice. "We are a civilian mining operation under Earth protection. By what authority do you make these demands?" Veltar's 4 eyes narrowed. "By the authority of superior firepower. You have 1 hour to evacuate all personnel to the surface for transport. After that, we will begin orbital bombardment." Han Solo looked thoughtful for a moment, as if considering the offer. Around him, his staff appeared nervous and frightened. It was a good performance. "Commander Veltar," Han Solo said finally, "we appreciate your offer. However, after careful consideration, we must respectfully decline." The silence on both ends of the communication lasted several seconds. Veltar stared at the screen as if he had misheard. His officers looked confused. "You decline?" Veltar asked slowly. "Yes. We like it here. The weather is nice. The work is steady. And the pay is good. We think we'll stay." Veltar's gray skin darkened with anger. "You foolish creature. Do you not understand the situation? We have 47 warships. You have mining equipment and civilian shelters. This is not a negotiation." Han Solo shrugged. "We understand perfectly. You have 47 ships. We have 1 mining outpost. Those are the facts. Then you choose death. We choose to stay home." Veltar cut the communication. Link and turned to his weapons officer. "Target their main buildings. Prepare for orbital bombardment." "Sir," his second-in-command said carefully. "Should we not send down troops first? The facility might contain valuable information." After that display of stupidity, I want to make an example. Destroy everything. We will search the ruins for anything useful. On the outpost, Han Solo smiled as the alien transmission ended. Around him, his staff dropped their act of being frightened civilians. So Young activated the hidden displays, filling the room with tactical information. "How long until they start shooting?" Taemin asked. "Based on their previous attacks on human colonies, they'll bombard us for about 10 minutes, Jin Woo reported. Then they'll send down landing forces to secure the area." "Perfect," Han Solo said. That gives us time to get everyone in position. So, Young, are the shields ready? The mountain itself will absorb most of the orbital bombardment, she replied. The real buildings are all deep underground. What they'll be shooting at are decoys. For 15 years, the humans had been preparing for this moment. The buildings on the surface looked real, but they were mostly empty shells designed to appear impressive on alien sensors. The actual outpost was carved deep into the mountain, protected by hundreds of meters of solid rock. Taemin activated his communication system. All units, this is command. The party is starting. Take your positions and wait for the signal. Across the outpost, 300 humans moved with practiced efficiency. They disappeared into hidden passages and underground tunnels. Weapon emplacements. That looked like mining equipment came online. The entire mountain became a fortress. Above them, Veltar's fleet moved into bombardment position. The alien commander stood proudly on his bridge, watching his ships target the helpless human facility. Fire at will, he ordered. Energy beams and missiles rained down from space. The surface buildings exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Dust and debris filled the air. For 10 minutes, the bombardment continued without pause. Veltar watched, with satisfaction, as the human outpost was destroyed. His weapons officers reported successful hits on all major structures. Nothing could have survived that attack. Excellent, Veltar said. Now send down the landing force. I want a complete search of the ruins. Deep underground, Han Sol and his team felt the mountain shake from the bombardment. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the lights flickered. But the hidden base was undamaged. Surface sensors show the decoy buildings are completely destroyed, so Young reported. Their bombardment was very thorough. Any damage to our actual facilities? Han Sol asked. None. The deepest they penetrated was about 50 meters. We're buried 300 meters down. Yunji checked her medical supplies one more time. Casualties? 0. Everyone made it to safety before the bombardment started. On the alien flagship, Veltar prepared to send down his troops. He had brought 12,000 soldiers for this mission. It seemed like overkill for a simple mining outpost, but the hegemony preferred overwhelming force. Deploy all landing craft, he ordered. I want the surface secured within 2 hours. Hundreds of alien dropships launched from the fleet. They carried soldiers, vehicles, and heavy weapons. The alien force was more than enough to conquer a small planet, let alone a destroyed mining outpost. As the first dropships entered the atmosphere, Yuna sat in her hidden fighter craft deep inside the mountain. She was one of 12 pilots who had been waiting 15 years for this moment. Her ship was disguised as mining equipment, but it was actually a state-of-the-art fighter designed specifically for this mission. All pilots, this is Control, came Han Sol's voice over the comm. The guests are arriving. Time to show them our hospitality. Yuna smiled and started her engines. Around her, hidden hangar doors began to open, revealing openings that looked like natural caves in the mountainside. The alien landing force was about to discover that humans did not build helpless mining outposts. They built traps that looked like helpless mining outposts. The alien dropships descended through the atmosphere like a dark cloud. 300 landing craft carried 12,000 hegemony soldiers toward what they believed was a destroyed mining outpost. Their sensors showed nothing but smoking ruins and scattered debris. Yuna watched them approach from her hidden fighter. Her ship was nestled in what appeared to be a natural cave opening in the mountainside. To alien sensors, it looked like empty space. In reality, it was one of 12. perfectly camouflaged hangar bays. "Control. This is Flight Leader," she spoke into her headset. "I count 300 dropships in the first wave. They're coming in tight formation. No escort fighters." "Copy that, Flight Leader," Han Sol's voice replied. "Wait for my signal. Let them get close." Below the mountain, Minho crouched next to a carefully hidden control panel. For 8 years, he had been placing explosive charges throughout the area around the outpost. To anyone watching, he had been doing routine geological surveys. In truth, he had been turning the entire mountain range into a weapon. The charges were hidden in natural rock formations, designed to look like accidental avalanches when they went off. Each one was precisely placed to create maximum damage while appearing completely natural. "Demolition team ready," he reported quietly. "All charges are armed and waiting." The first alien dropships touched down in the valley below the mountain. Soldiers poured out, weapons ready, expecting resistance from surviving humans. Instead, they found only silence and drifting smoke from the bombed buildings. Lieutenant Zektar led the advance team toward the main outpost building. His species had conquered dozens of worlds for the hegemony. Humans were supposed to be weak creatures who surrendered quickly when faced with superior force. "Spread out and search for survivors," he ordered his troops. "The fleet commander wants this area secured quickly." As the aliens moved across the landing zone, more dropships continued to arrive. Soon, thousands of soldiers were spread across the valley floor. Their heavy vehicles and equipment created a massive staging area. That was exactly what the humans had been waiting for. "All units, this is command." Han Sol's voice echoed through hidden speakers throughout the mountain. "Execute Operation Welcome. Home!" Yuna pushed her fighter's throttle forward. "Flight 1, launching now!" Her ship burst from the hidden cave like a bullet. Around the mountain, 11 other fighters emerged from perfectly camouflaged openings. To the aliens below, it looked like the mountain itself was attacking them. The human fighters were not large or heavily armored like alien ships. Instead, they were fast and agile, designed specifically for hit-and-run attacks. Yuna's ship darted between the massive alien dropships like a tiny bird among elephants. "Target their engines," she called to her squadron. "Don't let them take off again." The aliens were caught completely by surprise. Their dropships were sitting targets loaded with fuel and ammunition. The human fighters struck with precision, hitting fuel tanks and engine systems. Within minutes, dozens of alien craft were burning on the ground. "Impossible!" Zektar shouted into his communicator. Where did those fighters come from? On his flagship in orbit, Veltar stared at his tactical display in confusion. Human fighter craft were appearing everywhere around the landing zone. His sensors had detected nothing before they attacked. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appear to be launching from inside the mountain itself." "That's impossible. We destroyed their entire facility." Below, Minho smiled as he watched the alien confusion. "Time for the main event," he said, and pressed the first button on his control panel. A massive explosion echoed across the valley. What appeared to be a natural rock slide came crashing down on top of 50 alien dropships. Tons of stone-buried vehicles and equipment in seconds. The aliens looked up in alarm, thinking it was an accident. Then Minho pressed the second button. Another avalanche roared down the mountainside, crushing more alien craft, then a third and a fourth. Each explosion was perfectly timed and positioned to look like a natural disaster. "The mountain is collapsing!" an alien soldier screamed. "Get to the ships!" But there were no ships to get to. Yuna and her pilots had destroyed or damaged most of the dropships. The few that tried to take off were shot down before they could reach orbit. From hidden positions around the valley, human weapons began to fire. What had looked like natural rock formations suddenly revealed themselves as camouflaged gun emplacements. Heavy weapons that had been disguised as mining equipment opened up on the alien forces. Taemin coordinated the defensive fire from his command post inside the mountain. Sector 7, concentrate fire on their heavy vehicles. Sector 12, target their command units. The aliens tried to form defensive positions, but they were surrounded and outnumbered by weapons they could not see. Every rock, every hill, every piece of debris seemed to be shooting at them. "This is impossible," Zektar shouted. "Intelligence said this was a simple mining outpost." "Intelligence was wrong," replied one of his sergeants, diving for cover as bullets whizzed overhead. In orbit, Veltar watched his landing force being destroyed. Half of his dropships were gone, and the survivors were pinned down by heavy fire from positions that should not exist. "Sir, should we send reinforcements?" his second-in-command asked. "Reinforcements? Send what? They're shooting down everything." "We send!" The human fighters continued their deadly work. Yuna had already destroyed 6 dropships and damaged 3 more. Her ship darted and weaved through alien fire like it was dancing. "Flight leader to all units," she called. "They're trying to regroup near the eastern ridge. Let's break that up." The 12 human fighters swept across the battlefield like wolves, among sheep. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1, but they had the advantage of speed, surprise, and perfect knowledge of the terrain. Minho continued his avalanche attacks, bringing down carefully prepared rock slides at exactly the right moments. Each natural disaster destroyed more alien equipment and blocked escape routes. "Geological team to command," he reported with a grin. "The mountain is very unstable today. Lots of unexpected rock slides." The aliens began to realize they were not fighting a destroyed mining outpost. They were fighting a carefully prepared military fortress that had been disguised as a civilian facility. "Fall back to the secondary landing zone," Zektar ordered what remained of his forces, but there was no secondary landing zone. Every possible landing area in the valley had been prepared with hidden weapons and explosive charges. No matter where the aliens tried to go, they found themselves under attack from positions that seemed to appear out of nowhere. So Young monitored the battle from her engineering station deep inside the mountain. "All defensive systems operating at full efficiency," she reported. "No damage to our primary facilities." "Casualties?" Hansol asked. "0 on our side. We're tracking approximately 4,000 alien casualties and counting." Yunji shook her head in amazement. 15 years of preparation, and it's working exactly as planned. Above them, the aliens continued to fall into every trap the humans had set. What they thought would be a simple conquest was turning into a massacre. The hegemony had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked what they thought was a helpless human mining outpost. In reality, they had just sprung the most elaborate military trap in human history. Lieutenant Zektar pressed his back against a boulder, trying to avoid the constant gunfire from the humans. Around him, what remained of his company took cover wherever they could find it. The valley floor was littered with burning alien dropships and scattered equipment. "Sir," one of his sergeants called out, "we're receiving orders to advance toward the main facility." Zektar looked up at the mountain where the human outpost was supposed to be. All he could see were smoking ruins and natural rock formations, but somehow deadly fire was coming from everywhere. "Advance? Advance where? There's nothing left to attack." "Command says the humans must have underground facilities. We're ordered." to find them and destroy them. Zektar sighed and checked his weapon. He had been fighting for the hegemony for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans were supposed to be weak. Instead, they had turned his invasion force into a disaster. All right, move toward those rocks over there. Stay low and watch for... An explosion erupted behind them as another avalanche crashed down on a group of alien soldiers. Zektar was beginning to suspect these rock slides were not natural. Inside the mountain, Heejin watched the alien advance through her periscope. She was a small woman with quick eyes and steady hands. For 7 years, she had been mapping and preparing the natural cave systems that ran throughout the mountain. What the aliens did not know was that the entire mountain was hollow. Tunnels connected every part of the outpost to hidden positions. All around the valley, the humans could move anywhere without being seen. "Cave Team 3 to command," she whispered into her headset. "I have 30 aliens moving toward entrance 7. Permission to engage?" "Permission granted," came Tae Min's voice. "Make it look like they stumbled into a natural hazard." Hyejin smiled and moved deeper into the tunnel. The cave system was like a maze that only she and her team understood completely. They had spent years widening natural passages and creating new ones that looked completely natural. The aliens reached what appeared to be a crack in the mountainside. To their sensors, it looked like a natural cave opening. Zektar ordered his troops to investigate. "Careful," he warned. "This could be where the humans are hiding." The aliens entered the cave with weapons ready. The passage was narrow and dark, lit only by their portable lights. They moved slowly, expecting an ambush at any moment. What they found instead was much worse. The cave branched in 6 different directions. Each passage looked identical. There were no signs to indicate which way led deeper into the mountain. The aliens split up to explore each branch. That was exactly what Hyejin wanted them to do. She watched from a hidden observation post as the alien forces separated. Then she activated the first trap. A section of tunnel ceiling collapsed, blocking one passage and trapping 5 aliens inside. "What was that?" Zektar called out over his radio. "Tunnel collapse in Section 4, came the reply. "We're trapped! Use explosives to clear the debris." The aliens tried to blast their way out, but their explosions only brought down more rocks. The tunnel had been carefully prepared to collapse in exactly this way. Meanwhile, other alien groups found themselves lost in the maze of passages. Every tunnel looked the same. Their maps and sensors were useless because the caves had not existed when their ships first scanned the area. Hyejin moved through hidden passages that connected to the main tunnel system. She could appear anywhere the aliens were and disappear, just as quickly. Her team carried weapons designed for tunnel fighting, quiet, accurate, and deadly. "Contact front!" an alien soldier shouted as Hyejin's team opened fire from a side passage. By the time the aliens could return fire, the humans had vanished back into the tunnels. This happened over and over again. The aliens would advance down a passage, take fire from an unknown direction, and find nothing when they tried to fight back. Meanwhile, more tunnels collapsed around them, cutting off their retreat routes. "This is madness," Zektar shouted into his radio. "We're fighting ghosts." On the surface, Ground Commander Theklos tried to coordinate the increasingly desperate situation. He was a veteran of dozens of campaigns, but nothing had prepared him for this kind of warfare. His forces were scattered across the valley, pinned down by fire from positions they could not locate. The humans seemed to be everywhere, and nowhere at the same time. Every time his troops found what they thought was a target, it turned out to be empty. "Sir," his aide reported. "We're receiving distress calls from all units in the cave system. They're reporting tunnel collapses, ambush attacks, and complete loss of communication with surface units." "How many troops do we have left in effective fighting condition?" "Approximately 6,000, sir. But they're spread out and unable to support each other." Theklos studied his tactical display. The human outpost was supposed to be a simple target. Orbital bombardment followed by a quick ground assault. The entire operation should have taken less than 4 hours. Instead, it had been 8 hours, and his forces were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they could barely see. "Sir," another aide interrupted, "we're also receiving reports of strange atmospheric conditions. Acid rain is beginning to fall in sectors 5 through 12. Du-Hyun monitored the weather systems from his underground command post. As mining foreman, he knew everything about the planet's hostile environment. The acid storms were a natural phenomenon that happened every few weeks, except this storm was not natural. The humans had been cloud seeding for 3 days, encouraging the formation of acid rain clouds exactly when and where they wanted them. "Weather modification is working perfectly," he reported to Han Sol. "The aliens are about to discover why we wear protective suits when we work outside." The alien forces had no protection against the acid rain. Their equipment began to malfunction as the corrosive precipitation ate through metal and electronics. Soldiers who were caught in the open suffered painful chemical burns. "Fall back to covered positions," Theklos ordered. But there were no covered positions. The humans had destroyed all the alien dropships, and the natural rock formations offered little protection from the acid rain. Underground, Hyejin continued her deadly game of cat and mouse with the alien forces in the tunnels. She knew every passage, every hiding spot, and every trap that had been prepared over the years. The aliens were lost, separated, and increasingly desperate. Their communications were being jammed by the acid rain, and their equipment was failing. Many of them had not eaten or slept for 12 hours. "Cave Team 3 to command," Hyejin reported. "Enemy forces in the tunnel system are down to approximately 300. They're scattered and disorganized. Request permission to begin the final phase." "Permission granted," Taemin replied. "Drive them toward exit 12. Hyejin and her team began a coordinated push, attacking the aliens from multiple directions and herding them toward a specific tunnel exit. The aliens thought they were fighting their way out of the maze. In reality, they were being led exactly where the humans wanted them to go. Exit 12 led to a natural depression in the mountainside that the humans had turned into a killing ground. High walls on all sides, with concealed firing positions overlooking the entire area. When the surviving aliens stumbled out of the tunnels, exhausted and desperate, they found themselves trapped in the bottom of a bowl with 300 human, weapons pointing down at them. "Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the rules of war." Han Sol's amplified voice echoed off the walls. The aliens looked around at their hopeless situation. After 12 hours of fighting an enemy they could not see or understand. They had finally found the humans. Unfortunately for them, the humans had found them first. Ground Commander Theklos stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Of his original 12,000 troops, less than half remained in fighting condition. The rest were dead, wounded, or trapped in the underground maze that the humans had somehow created. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're losing contact with more units every hour. The acid rain is destroying our equipment and the humans are jamming our signals." Theklos had fought in 30 campaigns across the galaxy. He had conquered primitive worlds and advanced civilizations alike. But nothing had prepared him for this nightmare. The humans were fighting like no enemy he had ever faced. "Contact the fleet," he ordered. "Request immediate orbital support. Target every position that has fired on our forces." "Sir, we've tried. The humans are somehow blocking our communications with the ships in orbit. That was because Jinwoo was working overtime in his hidden communication center deep inside the mountain." The young man had spent years studying alien technology and communication protocols. Now he was using that knowledge to turn their own systems against them. Communication. "Jamming is holding steady," he reported to Hansol. "The aliens can't talk to their ships, and their ground units can't coordinate with each other." "How are you doing it?" So Young asked, impressed by the technical achievement. "I'm using their own communication satellites against them," Jinwoo explained with a grin. "Every message they try to send gets rerouted through our systems first. We can read everything they're saying and decide what gets through." On the surface, the alien forces were becoming increasingly desperate. They had been on the planet for 18 hours with no food, no supplies, and no communication with their fleet. The acid rain continued to fall, destroying their equipment and forcing them to take shelter in caves that might be full of human traps. Kyung-soo watched a group of alien soldiers through his rifle scope. He was positioned on a rocky outcrop that gave him a perfect view of the valley below. To anyone looking up, he was invisible among the natural rocks and shadows. The aliens were trying to reach a damaged dropship that might still have working communications equipment. They moved carefully, checking every rock and shadow for hidden humans. They had learned to be afraid of the empty landscape. They were right to be afraid. Kyung-soo had been a sniper in 3 different wars before coming to the mining outpost. His rifle was not a standard military weapon. It had been modified using mining equipment to be more powerful and accurate than anything the aliens had seen. He tracked the alien commander through his scope. The target was 800 meters away, moving behind cover and trying to stay hidden. For most snipers, it would be an impossible shot. Kyung-soo pulled the trigger. The alien commander dropped instantly. His troops dove for cover, not knowing where the shot had come from. They scanned the mountainside with their weapons and sensors, but found nothing. "Sniper Team 1 to command," Kyung-soo reported quietly. "Target eliminated, moving to position 2. He slid backward down the rock, face and disappeared into a hidden passage that led to another firing position 500 meters away. By the time the aliens reached his first position, he was already gone. This was happening all across the battlefield. Human snipers would fire once or twice, then vanish completely. The aliens never saw them coming and could never find them afterward. Another part of the valley, Ara sat in her psychological warfare station, monitoring alien radio frequencies. She was a small woman with a doctorate in alien psychology who had volunteered for this mission specifically to study enemy behavior under stress. Now she was using that knowledge to drive them insane. "Attention, alien forces," her voice echoed across the valley from hidden speakers. "You have been fighting for 20 hours. How many of your friends are dead? How many are wounded? How many are lost in our tunnels?" The aliens looked around nervously. The human voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Your fleet cannot help you. Your commanders cannot reach you. You are alone on a hostile world, fighting an enemy that knows your every move." Ara had studied recordings of every hegemony, military campaign for the past 50 years. She knew exactly how their troops behaved under different types of stress. Now she was applying that knowledge to break their morale. "We know you are hungry. We know you are tired. We know you are afraid." The Psychological attacks were working. Alien soldiers began looking over their shoulders constantly. Every shadow might hide a human sniper. Every rock formation might conceal a weapon emplacement. The stress of fighting an invisible enemy was taking its toll. "Your species has conquered many worlds," Ara continued, "but you have never fought. Humans on human terms. You have never faced an enemy that refuses to surrender, refuses to retreat, and refuses to die." Some of the alien soldiers began to crack under the pressure. They fired at shadows and empty rocks. They argued with their officers about orders that made no sense. The disciplined invasion force was becoming a frightened mob. Theklos realized his situation was hopeless. His forces were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to control the entire planet. Every tactical advantage the hegemony usually enjoyed, superior numbers, advanced technology, orbital support, had been neutralized by human cunning. "All units," he broadcast on emergency frequencies, "begin fighting withdrawal to evacuation zones." But there were no evacuation zones. The humans had destroyed every dropship in the first hours of the battle. The aliens had no way to leave the planet except to somehow reach orbit using equipment they no longer possessed. The retreat quickly became a rout. Alien soldiers abandoned their positions and fled toward the mountains, hoping to find shelter from the constant sniper attacks and the ongoing acid rain. They ran directly into more human traps. Du-hyun had spent years preparing the mountain passes for exactly this situation. Hidden explosive charges brought down rock slides that blocked escape routes. Concealed weapon positions covered every possible path the aliens might take. "Mining team to command," he reported. "The geological instability in sectors 15 through 20 has become critical. Multiple avalanches are occurring. The avalanches crushed hundreds of fleeing alien soldiers. Others found themselves trapped in box canyons with no way out except through human-controlled choke points." Kyung-soo and the other snipers picked off alien officers and communication specialists, making it impossible for the enemy forces to coordinate any kind of organized retreat. Without leadership or communications, the aliens became easy targets for the hidden human weapons. "This is impossible," Theklos shouted into his radio. "No mining outpost could have this kind of defensive capability." His aide looked up from a damaged communication console. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission from one of our orbital scouts. They've been monitoring human broadcasts from this planet for the past 15 years. "What kind of broadcasts?" "Mining reports, supply requests, personnel transfers, all completely normal for a civilian facility." Theklos stared at his aide in confusion. "Then where did all these weapons come from? Where did they get trained soldiers? How did they build this fortress?" The answer was simple, but it would have been impossible for the hegemony to understand. The humans had not built a fortress and then disguised it as a mining outpost. They had built a mining outpost and then turned it into a fortress. Every person on the planet was both a real miner and a trained soldier. Every piece of equipment served both civilian and military purposes. Every building and tunnel had been designed from the beginning to serve as both workplace and weapon. The hegemony had attacked what they thought was a soft target. Instead, they had triggered a trap that had been 15 years in the making. Night fell on the planet. The surviving alien forces huddled in whatever shelter they could find. They were cold, hungry, scared, and completely cut off from their fleet. Above them, human voices continued to echo across the valley, reminding them of their hopeless situation and offering them one chance to surrender. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were learning what it felt like to be prey. Fleet Commander Veltar paced angrily across the bridge of his flagship. For 24 hours, he had been trying to contact his ground forces with no success. His tactical displays showed chaos on the planet below, but no clear picture of what was happening. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're still unable to reach Ground Commander Theklos. All signals are being blocked or redirected." "How is that possible? We destroyed their entire facility." "Unknown, sir. But our scouts report that human fighters are still operating from hidden positions on the surface." Veltar slammed his four fists on the command console. This was supposed to be a simple conquest mission. Destroy a mining outpost, secure the resources, move on to the next target. Instead, his forces were trapped on the planet with no way to communicate or escape. "Prepare the second wave," he ordered. "Send down every remaining dropship with full escort fighters. I want that planet secured immediately." In orbit around the planet, 47 hegemony warships began launching their remaining attack craft. Hundreds of dropships and escort fighters headed toward the surface, carrying the last of Veltar's troops and equipment. Deep inside the mountain, Sunwoo watched the approaching fleet on his displays. He was a tech warfare specialist who had spent 8 years studying captured alien technology. Now he was about to put that knowledge to deadly use. "Second wave incoming," he reported to Han Sol. 300 dropships with fighter escort. They'll reach atmosphere in 12 minutes. "Are you ready for them?" Han Sol asked. Sunwoo smiled and activated a hidden console that looked like ordinary mining equipment. "I've been ready for 15 years. What the aliens did not know was that their technology was not as secure as they believed. During previous attacks on human colonies, the hegemony had left behind damaged equipment that human engineers had carefully studied. Sunwoo had spent years learning how alien systems worked. He had discovered weaknesses in their navigation computers, security protocols, and communication networks. Most importantly, he had learned how to hack into their systems remotely, beginning electronic warfare operations, he announced. The first alien dropships entered the planet's atmosphere normally. Their pilots followed standard approach vectors toward the landing zones where the first wave had been destroyed. Everything seemed routine until they tried to adjust their flight paths. "Control, this is Transport 7, an alien pilot reported. "My navigation system is malfunctioning. I'm showing incorrect coordinates. Transport 7, maintain current heading. We'll guide you in manually." But manual guidance was impossible because Sunwoo had taken control of their communication satellites. Every signal the aliens sent was being intercepted, modified, and retransmitted with false information. The dropships began flying in random directions. Some headed toward the mountains where hidden human weapons waited. Others flew in circles, burning fuel and confusing their escorts. A few actually turned around and flew back toward their motherships. "What's happening down there?" Veltar demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our pilots report navigation failures across the entire fleet. Switch to manual control." "They have, sir. But our communication relays are sending them incorrect position data." On the planet's surface, Bo-Ram watched the chaos in the sky with satisfaction. She was a former naval officer who had specialized in boarding actions during the war. Now, she commanded a team of combat engineers who had prepared a very special surprise for the alien fleet. "Boarding Team 1 to command," she reported. "Target ship is in position. Beginning operation." During the initial orbital bombardment, one alien frigate had been damaged by debris from the mining operation. The ship had made an emergency landing in a remote valley where its crew was working to repair the engines. What they did not know was that the debris had been carefully aimed mining charges designed to disable rather than destroy. The humans wanted that ship intact. Bo-Ram and her team had been watching the alien repair efforts for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The ship's crew was focused on their work and not expecting an attack from ground forces they thought were all dead. "Move in quietly," Bo-Ram ordered her team. "Remember, we need the ship functional." The humans crept through the rocky terrain around the landing site. They had trained for this operation countless times, using detailed intelligence about alien ship designs that Sunwoo had provided. The alien ship was lightly guarded. Most of the crew was working on repairs, and they believed the only threat was from their own people who might need rescue. They were not prepared for a coordinated assault by trained human soldiers. "Contact!" an alien sentry shouted as Bo-Ram's team opened fire. The battle was brief and one-sided. The aliens were caught completely by surprise and quickly overwhelmed. Within minutes, Bo-Ram's team had control of the entire ship. "Command, this is boarding team 1, she reported. "Alien frigate is secured. Beginning technical operations." Sunwoo had provided detailed instructions on how to access alien computer systems. Bo-Ram's team quickly reached the ship's main computer core and began downloading everything they could find. Navigation codes, communication protocols, ship identification systems, weapons specifications, everything the humans needed to turn the alien fleet's own technology against them. "Upload complete," Bo-Ram reported. "We now have access to their entire network." Sunwoo received the data and immediately put it to use. With the alien security codes, he could access any ship in the fleet. He began sending false orders, redirecting supply ships, and causing general confusion throughout the hegemony forces. "Attention all ships," Sunwoo transmitted using the captured communication system. "This is Fleet Command. All dropships return to base immediately. Landing operation is suspended." The alien pilots were confused but followed orders. The entire second wave turned around and headed back to their motherships, leaving the surviving ground forces with no support or evacuation. "Sir," Veltar's communications officer reported, "we're receiving conflicting orders from multiple sources. Some ships report orders to land, others to retreat. Who is sending these orders?" "They appear to be coming from our own command systems, sir." Veltar was beginning to realize that the humans had somehow compromised his entire fleet, but he could not understand how a simple mining outpost could have such advanced technical capabilities. In the captured alien ship, Bo-Ram's team made another important discovery. The frigate's computer contained detailed information about the entire hegemony fleet, including the locations and capabilities of every ship. "Command, we have complete intelligence on enemy forces," she reported. 47 ships total, with specifications and current positions. "Excellent work," Hansol replied. "Prepare for the next phase." Bo-Ram and her team began preparing the alien ship for flight. They had studied alien technology for years and knew how to operate their systems. More importantly, they knew how to make the ship appear to be functioning normally while actually serving human purposes. "Alien frigate to fleet command," Bo-Ram transmitted using perfect alien language and protocols. "Repairs complete. Requesting permission to rejoin the fleet." "Permission granted," came the reply from Veltar's flagship. "Take position in defensive formation." The captured alien ship lifted off and headed toward orbit. To the hegemony fleet, it looked like one of their own vessels returning to duty. In reality, it was a human-controlled weapon moving into the perfect position to cause maximum damage. Sunwoo continued his electronic warfare campaign from the planet's surface. Using the captured ship's communication systems, he sent false orders throughout the alien fleet. Ships were redirected to wrong positions, supply convoys were misdirected, and weapon systems began malfunctioning at critical moments. "Sir," Veltar's aide reported, "3 more ships are reporting navigation failures. 2 supply vessels have collided, and our fighter squadrons are flying in random patterns." "This is sabotage!" Veltar roared. "Someone is controlling our systems!" He was absolutely right. But by the time he realized what was happening, it was too late to stop it. The humans had turned the alien fleet's own technology into a weapon. Every communication, every order, every piece of data was being controlled by human operators who understood alien systems better than the aliens themselves. The hegemony had brought superior technology to destroy a simple mining outpost. Instead, they had given the humans the tools to destroy them. Fleet Commander Veltar stood alone on his bridge, staring at the tactical display that showed the complete destruction of his invasion force. Of the 12,000 troops he had sent to the planet's surface, fewer than 2,000 remained, alive. His fleet was in chaos, with ships flying in random directions and systems failing throughout the armada. "Sir," his remaining aide reported nervously, "Ground Commander Theklos is requesting immediate evacuation. His forces are surrounded and running out of supplies." "Evacuation with what?" Veltar snarled. "We've lost every dropship. Our fighters are flying in circles. Half our ships can't even maintain proper formation." The truth was bitter but undeniable. The humans had outmaneuvered, outfought, and outsmarted the entire hegemony invasion force. What should have been a simple conquest had become the worst military disaster in Veltar's long career. "Sir, we could attempt a direct assault, use the main battle cruisers to provide orbital support while the remaining ships land directly." Veltar considered this option. It was desperate and dangerous, but it might be their only chance to salvage something from this catastrophe. He could not return to the Hegemony Council and report that a mining outpost had destroyed his entire fleet. "Very well. Signal all ships. We're going to end this now." On the planet's surface, Wu Jin crouched in a hidden medical station near the main battlefield. As a combat medic, he had been treating wounded humans throughout the long battle. What amazed him was how few wounded there were. "Medical report to command," he transmitted. "Total human casualties, 12 minor injuries, 3 moderate injuries, 0 deaths." "Copy that, medical. How is that possible?" "The aliens never found our real positions," Wu Jin explained. "They've been shooting at decoys and empty buildings for 36 hours. Our people are tired and hungry, but they're not hurt." It was an incredible achievement. 300 humans had fought and defeated 12,000 alien soldiers while suffering almost no casualties themselves. The careful preparation and brilliant tactics had worked exactly as planned. In her communications center, Su Jin monitored the increasing desperation in alien transmissions. She was fluent in 17 alien languages and had been listening to their communications throughout the battle. "Command, this is communications. The aliens are planning something big. They're moving all their remaining ships into attack formation." "What kind of attack?" Han Sol asked. "Direct assault. They're going to land the big ships and use everything they have left." Han Sol smiled. After 36 hours of careful planning and precise execution, the aliens were finally doing exactly what he wanted them to do. "All units, this is command. The enemy is moving into final position. Prepare for Operation Homecoming." Throughout the mountain fortress, human defenders made their final preparations. Hidden weapon systems that had remained concealed throughout the battle were brought online. The most powerful defenses that the humans had built were about to be revealed. The alien fleet descended from orbit like a massive hammer. 23 heavy battle cruisers led the assault, followed by the remaining frigates and support vessels. It was everything Veltar had left, committed to one final desperate attack. "They're really doing it," So Young observed from her engineering station. "They're bringing their entire fleet down to ground level." "Perfect," Hansol replied. "They're making our job much easier." The aliens had spent the entire battle trying to fight an enemy they could not see from positions they could not reach. Now they were bringing their ships down to where human weapons could target them directly. As the alien fleet entered the atmosphere, hidden installations throughout the mountain range came to life. Massive weapon systems that had been disguised, as natural rock formations emerged from concealment. Anti-ship missiles that had been hidden in fake mining equipment launched simultaneously from dozens of positions. "All batteries, commence firing," Hansol ordered. The mountain itself erupted in fire. Heavy artillery pieces that had been secretly built into the rock face opened up on the descending alien ships. The weapons were too large to be portable. They had been constructed in place over many years and camouflaged to look like natural geological features. The alien fleet found itself flying into a trap that was even more elaborate than anything they had encountered on the ground. Every peak, every ridge, every valley had been turned into a weapons emplacement. "Impossible!" Veltar shouted as his tactical display lit up with human weapon signatures. "Where did all these guns come from?" His ships tried to return fire, but they were too close to the planet's surface and moving too slowly. The human weapons had been positioned for exactly this scenario. Every firing angle had been calculated years in advance. 3 alien battle cruisers were destroyed in the first minute of the engagement. Their massive hulls, designed to withstand attacks from other starships, could not handle the concentrated fire from concealed ground installations. "Retreat! All ships retreat!" Veltar ordered. But it was too late. The alien ships had committed to low-altitude flight paths that left them vulnerable to human ground fire. As they tried to climb back to orbit, more hidden weapons revealed themselves. Surface-to-air missiles launched from camouflaged positions throughout the mountain range. Point defense systems that had been disguised as communication equipment targeted alien fighters and escort craft. Even the mining laser systems had been modified to serve as anti-ship weapons. "Sir, we're taking massive casualties," an alien officer reported. 15 ships destroyed, 8 more heavily damaged. The humans had turned the entire planet into a weapon. Every installation, every piece of equipment, every natural feature had been carefully prepared to serve both civilian and military purposes. As the alien fleet tried desperately to escape the planet's gravity well, Sujin received an important transmission on her long-range communication array. "Command, this is long-range communications. I'm receiving a signal from the Earth Defense Fleet." "Earth Defense Fleet?" Hansol asked. "What's their position?" "They're requesting permission to enter the system, sir. Admiral Park sends his compliments and asks if you need any assistance." Hansol laughed out loud. After 36 hours of fighting an entire alien invasion force, the cavalry was finally arriving. But they were no longer needed. "Tell Admiral Park that the situation is well in hand, but he's welcome to watch the finale." High above the planet, the Earth Defense Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 25 human warships took position at the edge of the system, ready to engage any alien forces that might escape the planet. But there would be no escape. The surviving alien ships were trapped between the planet's surface weapons and the arriving human fleet. Some tried to surrender, broadcasting messages of defeat and requesting mercy. Others attempted to fight their way out, only to be destroyed by the coordinated fire from both human forces. "Sir," Veltar's aide reported quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through." Han Solo's calm voice filled the alien bridge. "Fleet Commander Veltar, this is Commander Han Solo of Kepler Mining Station 7. Do you surrender?" Veltar looked around his damaged bridge. Of his original 47 ships, only 9 remained intact. His ground forces were completely destroyed. His fleet was surrounded by human warships that had appeared from nowhere. "How?" he asked simply. "How did a mining outpost defeat an entire hegemony fleet?" "We're very good at our jobs," Han Solo replied. "The question is, do you surrender?" Veltar realized he had no choice. The battle was over, and the humans had won completely. I surrender." "Thank you. Please power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You'll be treated according to the rules of war." As the last alien ship surrendered, Wu Jin looked around the medical station that had seen almost no use during the entire battle. 300 humans had defeated 12,000 aliens and 47 warships while suffering virtually no casualties. It was the most one-sided victory in human military history. The mining outpost had revealed itself to be something much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. It was proof that humans could turn any location, any facility, any operation into a weapon when properly motivated. The hegemony had learned a lesson they would never forget. Never attack humans on ground. They've had time to prepare. 3 days after the battle ended, Han Solo walked through the captured alien ships that now sat in the valley below the mining outpost. Human technicians swarmed over the vessels, studying their technology and cataloging their weapons. It was the largest collection of intact alien military equipment that humanity had ever captured. Jae Young followed behind him, carrying a thick data pad filled with detailed reports. As the intelligence officer for the outpost, she had been documenting every aspect of the battle from beginning to end. "Final casualty report," she said, reading from her notes. "Human forces, 0 deaths, 15 injuries, all minor." "Alien forces, 10,400 deaths, 1,600 wounded, 400 missing in the cave systems." Han Solo shook his head in amazement. 15 years of preparation, and it worked better than we ever imagined. The alien fleet losses are even more impressive, Jae Young continued. 47 ships arrived. 9 survived to surrender. Of those, 6 are too damaged to be repaired. The hegemony lost an entire invasion fleet to a single outpost. They reached the temporary prison compound where the surviving aliens were being held. The prisoners sat quietly in groups, still stunned by their complete defeat. Many of them stared at the humans with a mixture of fear and confusion. "They still don't understand what happened," Jae Young observed. "Their intelligence told them this was a simple mining operation." "It was a simple mining operation," Han Solo replied. "We just happened to be very well-prepared miners." In the center of the compound, Na Yun sat alone under heavy guard. She was a young alien communications officer who had been captured when her ship was boarded. Unlike the others, she had been asking questions about human tactics and strategy. "Commander," she said as Han Solo approached, "may I speak with you?" Han Solo studied the alien officer. She was smaller than most of her species, with intelligent eyes and a respectful manner. According to the reports, she had tried to surrender her position rather than fight to the death. "What do you want to discuss?" "I've been analyzing your defensive strategy," Na-Yun said carefully. "The level of preparation and deception required would take many years to accomplish. How long have you been expecting an attack? 15 years, Han Sol answered honestly, since the day we arrived on this planet. But why? Your species had no contact with the hegemony 15 years ago. We had never attacked human territory. Han Sol sat down across from the alien prisoner. Because we knew someone like you would come eventually. The galaxy is full of aggressive species that attack anyone they think is weak. We decided to be ready. Nayun looked confused. You built this entire fortress just in case someone might attack? We built a mining outpost that could defend itself if necessary. There's a difference. The alien officer struggled to understand this concept. In hegemony culture, military and civilian facilities were completely separate. The idea of a civilian operation that could transform into a military fortress was foreign to her thinking. Every person here has two jobs, Han Sol explained. Miner and soldier, engineer and technician, doctor and medic. We don't separate our civilian and military capabilities because we can't afford to. Your species is more dangerous than our intelligence believed, Na'un said quietly. No, we're more careful than your intelligence believed. Across the compound, Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Fleet was meeting with his staff officers. The Admiral was a tall man with gray hair who had arrived too late to participate in the battle, but in time to witness its conclusion. This changes everything, he was saying to his officers. The hegemony has been expanding across the galaxy for centuries, conquering primitive species with overwhelming force. Now they've discovered that humans don't stay primitive. Sir, one of his officers asked, what are our orders regarding the prisoners? Most of them will be returned to hegemony space through neutral channels, but we're going to send one of them back immediately with a specific message. That evening, Han Sol met with his senior staff in the main conference room. The hidden military displays were now openly visible, showing tactical data and strategic assessments. There was no longer any need to pretend this was just a mining facility. The question now, So Young said, is what do we do next? The secret is out. The galaxy knows that human mining outposts are actually military installations. Are they? Taemin asked. We really were mining here for 15 years. We really did send metals back to Earth. We just happened to be prepared for trouble. The other question, Yunji added, is whether this was a one-time victory or the beginning of a larger war. The hegemony won't forget what happened here. Han Sol considered these points carefully. The battle had been a complete success, but it was only the first engagement in what might become a much larger conflict. We'll continue our mining operations, he decided, but we'll also share our defensive techniques with other human colonies. If the hegemony wants to test our resolve again, they'll find that every human outpost is prepared to defend itself, too. Days later, Na-Yun stood in the cargo bay of a damaged alien shuttle. It was the only ship that the humans were allowing to leave the planet intact. She had been chosen to carry a message back to hegemony space. Remember what you've seen here, Han Sol told her. Your people attacked what they thought was a helpless mining outpost. Instead, they found a fortress that had been waiting 15 years for them to arrive. I will report everything accurately, Na-Un promised. Make sure you include this part, Han Sol said, handing her a sealed data crystal. Humanity remembers every attack on our people. We remember every colony you've destroyed, every ship you've captured, every life you've taken. This outpost was built specifically to send you a message. What message? That humans don't build anything without making it a weapon first. Every mining station, every research facility, every civilian outpost in human space is ready to fight. If you attack one, you'll find yourself fighting a fortress. If you attack many, you'll find yourself fighting an entire species that has been preparing for war since the day we met you. Nayun took the data crystal with trembling hands. And if the hegemony chooses not to attack human territory again, then you'll find us to be excellent neighbors. We'll trade with you, share scientific knowledge, and work together for mutual benefit. The choice is yours. The alien shuttle lifted off from the planet's surface, carrying its lone passenger back to hegemony space. As it disappeared into the darkness between stars, Han Sol watched from his observation deck. "Do you think they'll listen?" So Young asked, joining him at the window. "They'll listen," Han Sol replied. "Whether they'll learn is a different question." In the weeks that followed, word of the battle spread throughout both human and alien space. The story grew in the telling, but the essential facts remained the same. A single human outpost had destroyed an entire hegemony invasion fleet. The psychological impact was enormous. Other aggressive species began to reconsider their plans to attack human colonies. If a simple mining operation could be that dangerous, what surprises might be waiting at human military bases? Meanwhile, human colonies throughout the galaxy began implementing similar defensive preparations. Mining outposts installed hidden weapons. Research stations trained their scientists in combat techniques. Civilian facilities were quietly transformed into potential fortresses. The message was clear. Humanity would not be an easy target for conquest. Any species that wanted to test human resolve would find themselves fighting an enemy that had been preparing for them for years. 6 months later, Jae Young completed her final report on the battle. It would become required reading at military academies throughout human space. The title was simple but effective. How to Turn a Mining Outpost into a Fortress. Lessons from Kepler 442c. The report's conclusion summarized the entire operation in a single paragraph. The enemy expected to find weak civilians operating primitive mining equipment. Instead, they discovered that humans do not make a distinction between civilian and military capabilities when their survival is at stake. Every human facility is a potential weapons platform, every human worker is a potential soldier, and every human colony is a potential fortress. This is not a weakness in human society. It is our greatest strength. The Battle of Kepler 442c had ended, but its message would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage not with conquest or aggression, but with an unmistakable demonstration that they would defend themselves with any means necessary. The mining outpost returned to its daily operations, extracting valuable metals from deep underground. But now everyone knew the truth. It was not just a mining outpost. It was a promise.